Are we ready? Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala rasulillah, wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man ittaqa. All praise belongs to Allah, and that's enough for a person to understand. And the salatu wa salam on the best of those sent, the Prophet Muhammad, and then on his companions. And may Allah make us amongst those that join them. I want to tell the ladies, please, I don't know what normally happens in other classes, but I do not, let me say it this way. Islam has always been the best when we had women scholars, always at its height. You may not realize this, but Ibn Kathir, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, all these great shuyukh had literally hundreds of women shuyukh as their direct scholars. And then you can directly track the fall of the Islamic dignity and the fall of the Islam as a world power, so to speak, with the decreasement of women scholars. And we never saw what we see today, where there's a less of an expectancy for the women to learn or to participate or to be tested. Like there's two different scales. The scale is one, okay? And there's a great book that I suggest a lot of people to check out. It's called Al-Muhaddithat, the Muhaddithat, the women scholars of hadith. And I have an encyclopedia at home, an encyclopedic mention or biography of thousands of women scholars. In the science of hadith, we learn this, that whenever you get an isnad, and you know the isnad is a chain of narrations, and in it is a woman, you can best believe that that chain normally is authentic. Why? Because none of the women are considered da'if. All the da'if narrators are men. All the ladies at the very minimum, this is ghalib, and somebody might find one or two here or there, but that's just not nothing to mention, are saduq, at the very least, trustworthy. And that's because that shows a certain level of scholarship. And then we know the famous Nana Asma'u, that famous scholar who, when you graduated from her halaqas, they put a red band around the lady's khimar, either as her under khimar or over the khimar. And she was known, if a lady saw her, one of those ladies with a red band on, they would go and ask her questions because she was competent. She had a certain level. So I say that because sometimes ladies come to class and they talk, okay? And sometimes they may get offended if I say, shut up. But I get offended if you talk. Okay, so there's a reciprocal relationship. Plus, there are other ladies who came to learn. Okay, now if a guy talks and I tell him to shut up, he's going to shut up. He's not going to take it like, you know, I offended him. You know, so I don't want to get a two-way thing. Ladies come to the class, come to learn. And I'm coming here to challenge you. They say the excellence of the student is drawn out of the meticulousness of and the firmness of the teacher. And so we have to get that, and I expect nothing less from any student, whether there is a male or a female. That doesn't bother me. You know, it doesn't increase the paperwork enough. When I teach or when I study, I grade the papers. I have a clipboard that covers the name on the top, so I don't know whose name it is. It's just a grade in that regard. So, that being said, let's get started. Bismillah. Recite the poem, please. No. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We're learning tafsir, right? Yes, one of the things, so this is a tafsir. One of the things you have to know, the bismillah is a humongously, I want to say powerful, but a tremendous barakah is in the bismillah. So much so that what we can say is anyone who begins something without stating the bismillah has lost so much barakah. He's cut himself off from so much miracles and blessings in that particular activity that we can't even imagine. This is drawn out from just the statement that Allah began his book with the bismillah. So if you could put that in some type of context. And then how many things do we put the bismillah in? Right? Bismillah in the beginning when you wake up in the morning, right? Bismillah is before you go to bed, right? Bismillahumma amutu wa ahya. When you go into the toilet, before you have intercourse, before you eat. How many things do we say when you start your car? There's too many things that we are taught to put the bismillah in for us to put it down and to degrade it or minimize it in any shape, form, or fashion. I say that because my science is Quran. And so from that, we have people memorizing. Sometimes we get person, they say, okay, I'm going to recite to you. Like it's trash. Like it's just some trivial formality that I'm going to say. No, you start to get ready with the best. The bismillah is supposed to have its own class and style about it as well. It's a part of the Quran. In fact, people have argued for years, what is the place of the bismillah? And have not realized a simple thing. The bismillah is in a class by itself. It's not an ayah. Who said it had to be an ayah for it to be part of the Quran? But it goes before every surah except for Surah Taubah. Okay? So this shows that it's in its own class by itself. Like Al-Fatiha for the rest of the Quran. So when we begin, please begin with the bismillah and start from the beginning of the poem. Because learning is being redundant. We do it over and over until it's second nature. The reason why we haven't gotten to the point where there's 3 or 4, 5, 6 different circles, because we haven't demanded that people that do come to the class actually learn. Okay? And have something. We keep claiming for so many years a deen, from the deen is al-isnadu min ad-deen. But ain't nobody got isnad. Not when I say nobody, majority of the talkers don't even have isnad themselves. Okay? And they're not passing on, because if you had isnad, you could pass it on. I have isnad, be clear. I have isnad for everything I teach you. Going back either to the Prophet ﷺ or the author. And this is a fadl that Allah, a favor that Allah has blessed some of us with, alhamdulillah. But it's not something we're going to hold and make like it's something big me, little you. It's something we're going to spread it out to everybody. Inshallah ta'ala, because it's not a big deal to get once you do the work. So let's start. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tafseeru 101 is what we're going to do. We're going to break it down for every one of you. From whence it came, its length and name, its placement and just what it claims. To teach the Quran and pass it down for Muslims learning all around. Linguistically, broken down methodically, reading those recited peace goes to those who dare to teach.
Its reason through its purest form, the master change still carried on. The Arabic speech of Allah revealed to Ibn Abdullah. Its words and meanings both preserved and most transformed on and undisturbed. A standing challenge for all time for those who claim it's just the right. Tafsir from Tafseeru, explain the meanings of Quran with easy words to understand. So meanings of the words supply with what came down and reasons why. First of course, Quran, find sources in the Sudan, Sahaba, when they to understand the language.
Start again from the beginning, please.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tafseeru 101.
Tafseeru 101 is what we're going to do. We're going to break each surah down for every one of you.
From whence it came, its length and name, where is it
what it claims. All around.
Tafseeru 101
is what we're going to do.
We're going to break each surah down for every one of you. From whence it came, its length and name, its placement and just what it claims. To learn Quran and pass it down for Muslims learning all around. Quran linguistically, when broken down methodically, means reading or recited piece for most of those who dare to teach. Its reason through its purest form, the master change still carried on. The Arabic speech of Allah revealed to Ibn Abdullah. Its words and meanings both preserved and must have formed undisturbed. A standing challenge for all time for those who claim it's just a rhyme. It's where all the prophets explain the meanings of Quran.
Start again. Fassara yufassiru. Louder and clearer, please. Let's start, because not everybody's doing it. Let's do it again. He's going to take out your test. I don't need that back. Take out your test so that when he comes around, he can pick up the test. Fassara yufassiru. Tafsir from A. Explain
the meanings of Quran with easy words to understand. The meanings of the words supply with what came down and reasons why. First, of course, Quran, and then the source.
So the ladies, you guys didn't memorize the poem, that part? Let's hear it. Let's go. Fassara
Tafseeru, tafsir from a mufassir.
Men, louder, louder. Fassara
Tafseeru, tafsir from a mufassir. Explain the meanings of Quran with easy words to understand. So meanings of the words of God with what came down and reasons what. Use first, of course, Quran to find a source.
From the Sunnah.
And Sahaba when they took to stand, the language lends a helping hand. Opinions come not all conform, some deviate and break the norm.
Opinions come, not all conform.
Some deviate and break the norm.
When you say it loud and clear, you remember it better. Okay? That's the whole purpose of this, and it becomes second nature. Sometimes, see, the process of memorization is the same with everybody. Sometimes you get it and it's kind of like shaky. But if you keep doing it, you just start and it'll flow out. Fassara yufassiru. Come on.
Fassara yufassiru, tafsir from a mufassiru.
Tafsir from a
Mufassiru.
Now that shows that we're supposed to do what? Take the tafsir from a mufassir. Okay? That we shouldn't just on our own come up with some tafsir. Fassara yufassiru. These are the Arabic terms. The word, he is exposing something. He is uncovering something. Fassara yufassiru. That's the activity. The tafsir comes from a mufassiru. What is he doing? Explains the
Meanings of Quran.
How is he explaining the meanings of the Quran? With easy words to understand. So that's his objective, not to use more difficult words, but to use easy words. To understand. The objective is to understand. The word understand is in Arabic we call fiqh. Okay? Fiqh. Everybody say that, please?
Fiqh.
Fiqh means to understand what was intended. What does fiqh mean?
No,
give me a full sentence. No, a full sentence means
Means to understand what was intended.
fiqh means to understand what was intended. Say it again.
It means to understand what was intended.
Sometimes we translate it as profound understanding. Okay, but that may get you to try to figure out what that means. Understand what was intended where? In the Quran. What Allah wanted you to do with that ayah. Wanted you to know about that term. Do you guys get the point?
Yes, sir.
So that's what the Mufassir's job is. Explain the meanings
Of Quran.
with easy words to
Understand.
So
Meanings of the words of God.
So the Mufassir is supposed to give the meanings of the words. You see, it's telling you what the job is. Why? So you could recognize a Mufassir. Okay? And know when you're getting good, right? You want to know when you're getting good work, right? So meanings of the word supply
With what came down and reasons
with
why.
the context, right? With what was revealed and reasons why. The context tells you the story. We say an action does not tell you what is going on. Watching something does not necessarily tell you what's going on. But when you hear the details around it, the circumstances, now you understand the action. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
If someone's walking across the street and they're helping an old lady across the street and they open the door and they go in there, it looks like that person is a good person, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
But if that guy is just walking in with that lady to rob the bank, does that explain his activity differently? Don't we look at him a little bit differently now?
Yes, sir.
So the action alone can't give you a ruling. This is something you have to understand. We don't make a ruling on an action without knowing the tafsir. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Let me give you an example. The Prophet from the Prophet's statement, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the statement, "Ma hamalaka ala dhalik." What caused you to do that? So when he said this to a man that Jibreel came and told him was sending news to the kuffar. Sounds like a traitor or spy, right? He's sending news to the Quraysh. Who told him? Who told the Prophet? Jibreel. Is Jibreel an untrustworthy person?
No.
No. Who was Sadiq al-Amin, right?
No.
So this is a most trustworthy individual, came and told him, so-and-so sending a letter to the kuffar, yukhbiruhum. He's telling them that you are coming. That's a big violation of war. But did the prophet say, get him, kill him? No, what he said? He stopped the man. He sent Ali and another Sahaba, I forget his name at the moment, radiyallahu anhuma, get the letter and bring him. When he brought him, did he make a ruling? Sit up, young man. You're the young man. He said, what? Did he just say, hey, Jibril told me, so I know it's true. Let's rule on him. Did he make a ruling?
Yeah.
He did, but first, what did he do?
Yes.
He asked him, why did you do that? What caused you to do that? So from that, we learn a ruling about activities. Because what we do a lot of times with the internet and with gossip, we hear about some action and then we make a ruling on it. Right? Before we even talk and know anything about what hamalahum ala dhalik. We don't know the tafsir. So we learn this word, a tafsir. Say it.
A tafsir.
Qabla tankir.
Qabla tankir.
Meaning, find the tafsir.
Find the tafsir
Before you talk about that action.
Before you talk about that action.
A tankir is nakira. We say, ya'muru bil ma'ruf wa yanha 'anil munkar. Munkar is tankir. So we command what is ma'ruf. Ma'ruf is a term, tafsir term, for what is, we say, easily recognizable as good. But what it means is the sharia. Okay? That's Islam. Munkar, literally, something that we don't recognize. What does it mean? Something we don't recognize in the sharia as being easily recognizable as good, meaning something that is haram. Okay? So before you call that action haram, before you say that's a bad deed, find out the tafsir. A tafsir before tankir.
Tafsir before tankir.
When it's dealing with actions, take your finger, your pen out the mouth. In the other circles, if they see you with your pen in your mouth, they throw rocks at you. In Mauritania. And it's haram to throw rocks at people, but they do. When they see you. Why? Because Allah, the first thing Allah created was what?
The pen.
And Allah swears by the pen. So that teaches us that it has a high position and it ought to be respected. Okay? No. All right. So, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So we have to learn that. That's dealing with action. So, meanings of the words.
Supply.
With what came down?
Reasons why.
Go faster. When I say that, it should come out your mouth. Meanings of the words.
Supply. What came down? Reasons why.
It should be knee-jerk, right away. Fassara yufassiru.
Tafsir from there, Tafseeru. Explain the meanings of Quran in an easy way.
Not too fast for everybody. Fassara yufassiru. She's good.
Of Quran, easy word to understand. The word supply with what came down, the reason why.
Now that stops it. That tells you, that whole part just tells you what a mufassir is and what his job is. Now it's going to tell you the activities. Then what's it? Use first, of course.
Quran.
What does that mean? Use first, of course, Quran.
Explain the verse with a verse.
The first tafsir you should use is what? Quran. And then?
Find the source in the Sunnah.
And finding a source in the Sunnah is going through the hadith, learning what the Prophet ﷺ has said. Did the Prophet talk about every single ayah? No. Not in an obvious way. Not maybe sarihan, literally, but he did in activity. And through we have the meanings of the whole Quran. Okay? But so we have to learn how to identify it. You get the point? Use first, of course.
Quran.
Then find a
Source in the Sunnah.
Meaning, when you say find a source in the Sunan, that means don't you be the one to tabda. That's what we call bid'ah. You bid'ah be here. You are the first one. Don't be the first one to say it. Find a source in
The Sunnah.
Isn't this the root for research?
Yes.
All of us masters and PhDs?
Yes.
You got to come and show where's your proof. Right? Where's your source? Then find a source in
The
The
Sunnah.
Sunnah.
our source material is the Sunan. Go ahead, what's next?
Sahaba when they take a stand.
Sahaba when they
Take a stand.
So now when the Sahaba take a stand, because not the Sahaba speaking about every single thing in that particular way, but when they do take a stand, then we take that stand as well. There's conditions to it. If other Sahaba stand up and say, no, that's wrong, then we know that that's not agreed upon. If a Sahaba says this is what it is and all the other Sahaba don't say nothing, then that's what it is. Okay? Because they wasn't friends like that. Their friendship was based on the truth. So if somebody stood up to say something and it wasn't actual, they said, yo, hey, yo, Hather, hey, yo, listen up. And they would say what they had to say. One time, I believe it was Ibn Abbas, I'm not too sure, was telling the people something, and they said, well, Abu Bakr does this, and Abu Umar said that. He said, I'm telling you, Rasulullah, and you telling me so-and-so and so-and-so? Belittling the names Abu Bakr and Umar, but in the right context. I'm saying Rasulullah, and you talking about some old nobodies in comparison? Check them. Put it in their place. So we have to look and learn how. This is tafsir, and it comes into place once we start the practice of tafsir. We need to get this done because Ramadan's on our heels. And we want to be prepared for Ramadan, right? So when you learn these basics as you read the Quran and then other things, once you know these principles, you can enjoy a lecture. You can determine whether that person is giving you the marks or not. Okay? So, use first, of course.
And from the source and thus Sunnah. However, when they take the stand, it lends a helping hand.
The language lends a
helping hand.
A helping hand. So, the language is vital. But it only lends a helping hand. You have to know the language. Okay? But it helps. Because we want to know the Sharia meaning, but the linguistic meaning is vital. Okay? Language lends a
helping hand.
Opinions come out.
Now, this last line is very important. Why did we put opinions last? Because that's the placement of opinion. Before you come up with your opinion, you have to go through that whole route. Okay? Before you come and say, well, I think it means this, that, and the other thing, you have to check yourself and find out what Allah said about that first. Then what did the Prophet ﷺ say about that? What was the Sahaba's stance on that thing? What does the language point towards in that regard? And now I can say what my opinion is based on that other information. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
They say the Salaf, we're talking about the likes of Imam Malik and them, they said it's not considered opinion or just a wrong opinion for you to make an educated guess based on knowing the language and knowledge of the seerah and knowledge of the sunnah and knowledge of the Quran. So that's not considered the blameworthy opinion. That's considered the educated guess, which was an opinion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's like when the mechanic comes and he listens to the car. Oh, that's this, that, and other thing. Whoa, he listened to the car and told you what it was. Right on. You know? Why? Because he's that good. He has so much experience with vehicles, he can hear it and tell you what's wrong with it. Or the doctor, when he looks at a person, says, ooh, just by looking at the person, what do the Chinese do? And they make you, when you go to Chinatown and you want to get checked, they tell you, stick out your tongue. They can look at your tongue and tell you what's wrong with you. Okay? So when someone has some experience in this thing, they get to know that science from routes that other people may not recognize. Is that fair?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. Now, I did a thing here. I made a whole bunch of copies for you guys because today's lesson is very, very important. Okay? Very important. And I made copies for everybody. But when I was walking out the house, I'm editing this book. This is a book. It's called Al-Bina. Okay? Al-Bina is in Sarf, the breakdown of the Arabic language, breaking the words down. So I was...
Hold it up.
Okay. This book should be finished before Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala. It's called Al-Bina, and it's a classic in the fundamentals. So I'm editing it, for publication, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. And I have another book, this black folder, and I think I handed it to you before I walked out, and it's the wrong pile of papers. Okay? I wasn't planning on bringing this here. It was a pile of papers with this here on it, this poem. This poem here is one of the important poems, and I wanted to give it to everybody because it's so important, especially when I see we have a large group of people who are converts to Islam. I need another black pen. This pen is not good. No. Sorry? No, there's none there. There's none there. So there's somewhere you can get it. Now, here, I want you guys to pay attention. I'm going to write the poem down, and the reason why I wanted to give it to everybody. It was a test thing for you guys. Look, this is dividing the Quran into sections based on what in the Quran is replacing other revelation that came, previous revelation. I'm going to say that again. This is dividing the Quran into sections, parts of the Quran that are to replace previous revelation or revelation that never came until it came. For example, Surah Al-Fatiha is in a class by itself. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, today what has come down was been revealed. No other prophet has got, and no other people got anything like what was revealed in Al-Fatiha. What do we learn from that? Number one, that Al-Fatiha is unique, and nothing else came before like the Fatiha has been revealed before. Number two, that there are things that we have in the Quran that are from what came before. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The clarification that this has never been revealed before is a clarification that other things in it has been revealed before. Does that make sense? Yes. And I want to read to you this hadith. I wanted it in front of you because I did a whole bunch of work on it for you guys to see, and inshallah you'll see it next week, bi'idhnillah. And it says here, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أعطيت شكرا. Thank you. أعطيت مكان التوراة السبع وأعطيت مكان الزبور المئين وأعطيت مكان الإنجيل المثاني وفضلت بالمفصل So here in this narration, in this hadith is authentic. Many narrators have narrated it. Shaykh al-Albani went through all the different turuq, the different routes, and declared it sahih with more than enough supporting evidence. It means, the Prophet ﷺ said what could mean. I was given in place of the Torah, as-saba at-tiwal, the 7 long surah. Okay? And I was given in place of the Psalms of David, the mi'in. Mi'in is a term, the surah that are 100 ayah, more or less. Okay? In fact, I want you guys, pass out the masahif. Pass out, everybody take a mushaf. Everybody get a mushaf and hand some out to the ladies, please. Take those over to the ladies.
Does this suffice? Oh, you got blue and this. I had a pack in my bag, but I took it out.
And I was given in place of the Injil, the Mathani. Everybody needs a mushaf because you won't really appreciate this until you see it. Quickly, young man, give it to everybody. Oh, the other ladies are there too. Here you go. And I was given in place of the gospel of Jesus, the Mathani. And I have been favored with a special rank and status by being given the Mufassal. Okay? Everybody follow me? Now open up the Mus'haf. Now the first surah is Surah Al-Fatiha. Surah Al-Fatiha is in a class by itself. Put that in your mind. It's in a class by itself. The second surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, all the way up to Surah Taubah. Go through that section and grasp it. Surah Taubah is the 9th surah. Surah Al-Baqarah up until Surah Taubah. Say it, guys. Baqarah. Now, if you look at those surahs, those 8 surahs, now they're 8 surahs, right? But we call it the 7 because Anfal and Taubah are counted as one surah when we count them, even though they're 2 surahs. It's like Falaq and Nas. Okay, we know they're 2 surahs, but we don't separate them. Okay? Right. So Anfal and Taubah are connected because there's only one bismillah. So really there's 7 bismillah here, right? Those are the longest surah. That's what tiwal means. The long surahs. And they are the longest surah in the Quran. Even though there's another surah that has, let's say, 200 and something ayat in it, its size is small compared to these 8 surah. Okay? And these surah have the most words in them than any other surah in the Quran. So they're called Tuwal. Not only that, they replace the Torah. Everything that the Torah, now most of us grew up in America and were familiar with what was in the Torah. You know, the 5 books of they call the Pentateuch or something like that. What is in there? Laws, right? Am I right or wrong? Am I talking to myself or what?
You're right.
It's not a khutbah. There are laws in those things. Laws. If you look at these 8 surah, that's what you find. Laws. And it replaces the Torah. Everything that is in the Torah that we need, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the gist of it, the meaning of it, the exactness of it, is in these 8 surah. Capiche?
Capiche.
The next one. Now look at your Mus'haf. He says, and I've been given in place of the Psalms of David, the Mi'in. Mi'in are the surah that have how many ayah? 100 more or
Less.
Now go through these surah, okay? You go through these surah, you go all the way up to Ankabut. Look, flip through them, all the way up to Ankabut, and you'll see an amazing thing. All these surah are 100 ayah more or less. Kaf, 111, right? They don't exceed that. 98, 78. Keep going, all the way up to Ankabut. Rum is Surah to 30. So you know, Rum and Ankabut is right there. Yeah. Ankabut then Rum. And that's where the change takes place. This is to destroy those I don't want to say that word. Those people, see, you didn't hear the word, who claim, oh, the Quran is just put together in any old fashion. They're out their mind. They don't know what they're talking. The Quran in the order is a miracle. Now, once you start here, you get to 30, which is Rum. Ankabut, right before Ankabut, you have Qasas, which is 88. Ankabut, which is 404, ends at 69. Yep. Then you go to Rum. Rum begins the next section, 60. Now that's not 100, right? More or less. That's a lot less than 100, right?
Right.
That's 60. You see how the change goes? From 88 to 60, and it stays that way. Now this next section, so that's that section. That's the Mi'in. So the Mi'in go there. The next section goes, in place of Isa's lost Injil, use al-Mathani's strong appeal. So now we have the Mathani in place of the Injil, the Gospel of Isa ibn Maryam. And the Mathani are called Mathani. Mathani means they're repetitive and they're in groups. What did I say?
Repetitive and in groups.
They're repetitive for 2 reasons. One, we repeat them a lot in the Salah because they're shorter.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they don't come with a new argument. They come with everything that started in Baqarah and those first 9 surahs. I'm sorry, the Fatiha brings something. Up to Taubah, and it repeats and goes in more detail and approaches those same concepts from a different angle. So they're standing on that. And not only that, they're called repetitive and groups. I call it Mathani, means repetitive and in groups. What are the groups? There's 3 main groups. There's the Alif Lam Mim group. There's the Hamdulillah group. There's the Tanzilul Kitab group. And there's the Ha-Mim group. And you're done. And you're done. Look at it. Let's look through it. Yeah. Go to the beginning of every one of these surahs. At Rum starts with Alif Lam Mim. Luqman, Alif Lam Mim. Sajda, Alif Lam Mim. Isn't that a group? Yeah. So then next one is Al-Ahzab. It doesn't go Alif Lam Mim. Ya Ayyuhan Nabi. O Prophet, which is very important. The one that doesn't have a group. O Prophet. Why? Because the next group, the Prophet was told, وَفُضِّلْتُ بِالْمُفَصَّلِ. The Prophet's group comes next. Watch. The next group comes Alhamdulillah. After Sabah, we have Fatir. How does it begin? Alhamdulillah. That's the next group. Then what happens? Yasin. Again, talking about the revelation. What's next? Was-saffati saffa. And the next surah is Sad. So both of them begin with the Sad. Okay? And then the next group comes, and it's Tanzilul Kitab. Now, what happens after Tanzilul Kitab? Hamim. Immediately. And all the Hamim continue to the end. Hamim. What? Hamim Tanzilul Kitab. Okay? The next one. Hamim. It's all Hamim from that point on. But look at the next word after Hamim. Hamim Tanzilul Kitab. Okay? Tanzilu min ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is the only place it comes in the Quran. Min ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And this is to explain Alif Lam Mim Dalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fi. This explains that, meaning Tanzilu min ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And it's sent down from ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The next one, Hamim Ain Sin Qaf. Next one. After that, Hamim wal Kitab al-Mubin. The next one is going to be the same thing. Hamim wal Kitab al-Mubin. You see that? Next one, Hamim Tanzilul Kitab min al-Aziz al-Hakim. Right? Next one, Hamim Tanzilul min al-Aziz al-Hakim. The same thing, just flip the other way. All these Hamim, until you get to Surah to what? Muhammad.
Yep, that's right.
Isn't that a miracle? Till it gets to Surah to Muhammad, and from Muhammad it stops, and that starts the Mufassal. These surahs going back are the ones who are Fuddiltul Mil Mufassal. This is the breakdown of the Quran. And if we look at the nature of the Injil, the gospel, and what it says and what it does, you'll find that in the Mathani. If you look at what's in the Psalms of David, you'll find that in the Mi'in, the nature, the tone, and the style, and the message. And then the Mufassal, we say about the Mufassal this. When the Prophet said, "Fuddiltu bil Mufassal," how many prophets were there? That we were told there was what?
25,000.
25,000, right? So 25,000 prophets. We already see that the major prophets, their message came in those 4 books. Allah's messenger said there were 104 books that have been revealed. Everybody familiar with that hadith? Allah's messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Allah sent down 104 books. When I first learned that hadith, I was like, maybe it's wrong. Maybe he meant 114. Because I was hoping that the 114 books would be the 114 surah. But all the routes say 104 surah have been, books have been, revelation have been sent down. And what's in those 104 books has been put in 4 books. Okay? The Torah, the Psalms, Zabur, the Injil, and the Quran. And what's in those 4 books have been put in the Quran. And what's in the Quran has been put in Surah Al-Fatiha. And this is how the breakdown of the Quran can be again. Okay? And they say that if everything in Al-Fatiha wraps around Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in. You and only you do we worship, and we can't do that without your help. Okay? So that's a different level. Right now I want you to learn this poem. Okay? Because I know the time is up, and next week I won't test you on it, but you'll have a test on everything else. You'll be able to take home, inshallah ta'ala. Divide Quran.
Divide Quran.
For readers lib.
For readers lib.
And you heard of woman's lib, right? This is the reader's lib. In 30 juz.
In 30 juz.
And 60 hizb.
And 60 hizb.
And long tiwal.
And long tiwal.
Please say it loud, guys.
Long tiwal.
Reciting Taubah.
Reciting Taubah.
And with its laws.
And with its laws.
Replace the Torah.
Replace the Torah.
Sorry, that's a... Mi'in.
Mi'in.
At Yunus.
At Yunus.
One might guess.
One might guess.
100 ayah.
100 ayah. More or less.
More or less. With Ammazin, with Al-Ma'in.
والهمزين
I'm sorry, al-mi'in for az-zubur.
الزبور
The Psalms of David
Psalms of David
are secure.
are secure.
In place of Isa's
In place of Isa's
lost Injil,
lost Injil,
use Alim with Mathanis,
use Al-Mathani,
strong appeal.
strong appeal.
And Besmillahs at Qaf begin Mufassal up until the end. I'll have to write that other part. Okay? And Besmillahs at Qaf
At Qaf
begin
begin
Mufassal
Mufassal
up until they end. Now, there is a. Please recite that, please. Divide Quran. For readers live.
readers live
In 30 juz and 60
60
his.
his in long to while reciting Taubah and with reciting Taubah
And with its laws replace the Torah.
with his laws replace the Torah.
Mi'in at Yunus, one might guess.
Mean at Eunice, one might guess
100 ayah more or less.
100 ayah more or less.
Mi'in, I'm sorry. With al-mi'in for az-zabur,
Al-Mi'in for Az-Zabur,
the Psalms of David are secure.
the Psalms of David are secure.
In place of Isa's lost Injil,
In place of Isa's lost Injil,
use al-Mathani's strong appeal.
use Al-Mathani's strong appeal.
And Besmillahs at Qaf begin,
And Besmillah at Qaf begin,
Mufassal up until they end.
Mufassal up until they end.
Now, Yunus is Surah to Yunus, is what's referring. Qaf is Surah to Qaf, around. Those are certain determinations, but this is the whole base of the Quran. Now, what we're doing here is getting familiar with the Quran, okay? That's what we're doing. We're getting familiar with the Quran, inshallah ta'ala, in a personal way, to understand and to confirm that what we have is the truth. The way it's laid down is organized and appropriate. And it's in a way that we're not losing anything. Okay? Real good clarity, inshallah ta'ala. And so when we read it, we can benefit for it. Do I have any questions? Does everybody understand the significance of this hadith? Ameen. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Yes, ma'am.
Can you repeat the start and end
Yes. Use Besmillahs at.
the surahs for each section?
Sorry?
Can you repeat the start and end surahs for each section?
Yes, ma'am. Inshallah. For the tiwa, first of all, Surah Al-Fatiha is in a class by itself. Say that.
Surah Al-Fatiha is in a class by itself.
Okay, so it's its own class. Then from Baqarah to Taubah,
From Baqarah to Taubah,
these are the tiwal.
the Tiwal,
They're also called Sab'at tiwal, even though there are 8 surahs. It's called
Sab'at
tiwal.
Tiwal.
Okay? Then begin at Yunus.
Then begin
Yunus.
Yunus.
Yes. Yunus, Surah to Yunus, up until Ankabut. Okay? So that's like the 29th surah, because Rum is 30. Okay? Up to Ankabut. Ankabut is the spider's web, or the spider, in that regard. Sorry? Surah to spider. Okay? Those are going to be called the Mi'in. What do you call them?
Mi'in.
Mi'in. And then from Rum.
From Rome?
Right. From Surah to Rum, the Romans. guys ready? We go all, now that's where it gets kind of great. From that point on, all the way to, let's say, Surah to Muhammad. Okay? Those are the Mathani. The Mathani. Now, some scholars say they start at Hujurat. Some scholars say they start at Qaf. Most scholars say they start at Qaf. So that would mean like Muhammad ends it. But there's none of that. That determination is not cut and dry. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. There's no, when you find a bunch of opinions, there's a rule again. When you find a bunch of ikhtilaf about a subject, that means there's no agreement about it. Okay? That means no one has enough proof to shut the other ones up. So they're saying. So we're saying around that same area. And then definitely from Hujurat going forward, you have the Mufassal. The Mufassal. And those are surah, as I said, the Prophet ﷺ said he was revealed. 104 books were sent down. And so those that we don't know about, we see that their message is possibly in the Mufassal, since we know these other ones, and more than that. Because we know that Allah sent down books and messages that were never revealed before, and things that were similar, or as he says here, replacing or in place of those other surahs and the message, that sort of revelation and what was in it. This is very tremendous consequences for someone who has come to Islam who will maybe think they lost something, okay? Or there's missing something because we are the last people on the block, quote unquote. We have what is necessary from the Torah. We have what is necessary from the Psalms of David. We have what is necessary from the Injil. And we have more than that. And this is the barakah and the miracle of the Quran. Please memorize this chapter. You will be tested on it in 2 weeks. We're going to start having a bunch of tests because before Ramadan, I want to make sure you have, inshallah, the mabadi, the foundational knowledge you need so that when we approach Ramadan, we have a stronger stance. Alhamdulillah. I see the Imam is here. So, أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.